Hello, Grapplefam. This is Matt with the Grappling Podcast. And in today's episode, Levi and I discuss things we've learned while getting our butts kicked, or in reflection of getting our butts kicked. So we wanted to talk about just how we can learn from our experience of essentially losing in jiu-jitsu, getting beat in rolls, getting outclassed, smashed, so on and so forth. And the best thing we can do in those scenarios is try to learn from them. So today we discuss a couple different things that we personally have taken away from losing in jiu-jitsu. And just a fair warning, we do about 8 minutes of banter here in this episode right out of the gates. So if you want to listen to us goof around and talk about some funny questions and things like that, fantastic. If not, just skip ahead about 8 minutes. Without further ado, here are some details on when we've been very humbled.
Okay. Strangle, bangle, entangle, wrangle. Bangle? That's not a word.
Yeah. No, bangle's a word. Isn't that like a wristlet?
Banglet?
Bangle.
Oh.
And there's Bengal tigers. I don't
It's
know
Bengal.
what does bangle mean.
It's probably I think Bengal is maybe a location.
I'm looking it up.
Bengal.
All right, let's check it out.
They're like
BENG.
monster tigers. Like a Bengal tiger is like a huge tiger.
Oh,
I don't even know if there's is that like a liger. I've seen ligers before.
In person?
No, but
Oh.
I've seen just videos.
I've seen videos of them as well. They are
Just a
gigantors.
weird makeshift animal.
Let's
Liger.
see. Okay, Bengal tiger, according to Wikipedia. Let me find this here.
But no, it's like, what's the name from? Is it? It's not like
I don't know. I would have to. This thing's going deep in the taxonomy.
Bengal.
Taxonomy? Yeah, taxonomy.
Why Bengal?
Characteristics.
They
Okay.
come from the ancient kingdom of Vagna or Banga, which is
Ooh.
early Sanskrit literature.
Nice.
But I don't know. Bengal, the region of Bengal,
Oh,
Indian state.
nice. You found that way quicker. There's too much. There's actually
It's like a
pages of this on
Southeast Asia.
Wikipedia.
Huh.
This is actually one of the better designed Wikipedia articles I think I've seen. Bengal tigers. It's available in 81 languages.
So if you could have a big animal as a pet, what would it be?
And it would for sure not kill me.
Yeah.
It was super chill and
Super disciplined.
Yeah. I'm almost, it's like a video
You're a
game where I
druid.
can essentially, druid
Yeah.
style. Okay.
Besides doing your taxes.
Druid style. I could do things for you.
You could have a golden eagle.
Ooh.
Or you can have.
We could send our eagles to each other with notes.
I feel like you would. I feel like you would do something where it's not the common thing.
Well, a
You'd say,
gorilla could help you move.
I would have a small little creature that could just do something.
Yeah, if I can only pick one.
But okay, if you could pick one, but you'd have to live the rest. You'd have to live it with society. You know what I'm saying? If you're going out with a bear, you'd have to be so well known that this is the guy with a bear. Versus everyone freaking out that you have a bear. So you'd have to live with it. You know what I'm saying?
And is it just in today's day and age, or am I in some other
This is
world?
why it was my
because if
argument.
I'm in a world of combat, I think I'd pick
No,
a
it's
snake or something.
It's today's day and age.
Today's day and age. I'd want something helpful, honestly. As cool as it'd be to have a big old bear, and be able to ride it. Because come on, that'd be pretty fun.
And snuggle it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But
Imagine
it'd be very
napping on a
big
bear.
and very
That
hungry.
sounds like life.
Eat a lot.
Life goals.
Eat a lot.
That's true.
Maintenance-wise. I'd pick something that could probably get things from another room for me.
That'd be hard to clean up the backyard.
That type of thing. Actually, I would probably pick some type of bird because I think that would just be too cool to have a sweet bird.
But what would the bird do? Just fly around
And I could send you notes.
That's true.
We could send each other
LOL.
liquid death waters.
Yeah.
yeah, LOL. Instead of texting, we start using our messenger eagles.
Someone's seeing this bird fly with liquid death.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know.
Birds would be always cool.
Yeah, and you could just let it because they'll come back. You could just be all right, have fun,
Imagine
Hedwig.
elk, like an elk.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Have a little saddle on it.
That'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, I guess it depends what we're doing with these things.
I guess would you move if you got the animal?
If I had a magical
you're
bear,
you're kind of by Riverside Park, but it's you'd have to be.
I'd want something that couldn't get shot down too. So I might pick a bald eagle because they're protected, so I wouldn't have to worry about it getting hurt if it went flying. And nothing's going to eat my bald eagle. Versus imagine you pick a little lizard. It's dude, your magical animal's going to get eaten.
A bird would be a great way to freak people out. Imagine if you met someone that didn't know you had this thing. All of a sudden you're oh, I see an eagle. And they're hey, come here, bald eagle.
Actually, you
Come
know
right
what?
down.
I know what I'd
They
pick.
think you'd be a god.
I think I know what I'd pick here. Okay, one of my favorite animals, like categories, are whales.
Okay.
I really like whales, so I'd probably pick a whale.
But you'd have to like have everyone would have to know.
No,
Yeah, you would, because where would you put it? In Winnebago?
no, he would just hang out in the ocean, and I would just like go
Okay,
and swim with him.
So, but would you move? Or would you just know
Maybe.
he's there?
Maybe, I don't know.
That seems
I'd cross
like,
that bridge when I got
doesn't
there.
seem like a good daily
'Cause
ratio of enjoyment.
I could swim with him.
So
That or an eagle. The eagle thing I'm really kind of set on to. Either eagle or whale. It'd be funny. I pick a gigantic blue whale.
what if you got like a wolf? Like
That'd
a
be cool.
massive wolf,
That could be cool.
and then you just tell people it's a really big dog,
Mm.
and then you go to dog
Or like,
parks.
what about a leopard?
a leopard?
Be kind of cool.
But again, it's like walking around would be tough. I think that'd be the tough part.
Taking your leopard for a
Visualize what
walk.
that would
You
look
could probably get away with like an ocelot.
I feel like there's way too many cool animals. Like
Yeah.
somebody you'd switch over to be like a gorilla would be cool, but
Maybe a snake. A big snake, because you could wrap it around your arm or something and
Yeah.
just walk away with it. It's weird, but not weird enough that people would freak out.
I think it'd be tough
they'd
because
freak
you'd
out,
have
but-
to have some high level of guarantee that this thing would not like snap.
Yeah, or else I'd
Cute.
pick like a rabbit. It'd be or like a little monkey.
You know, if you had
You know?
if you had a rabbit and then you knew its offsprings would be obedient to you, that would multiply quick.
I'd pick a rat then, just like our conversation
Army
the
of
other day.
10,000 rats.
Yeah, I would have an army of rats. Be the rat king over here.
Rat king.
It'd be funny.
Crocodile.
Actually,
Shark
no,
would be
toads. I'd have a bunch of toads.
Cool. Toads.
That'd be funny. No, I think rats are more flexible. All right. Why? Okay, we'll have to think and stew on this, and we'll come back to our listeners.
Ravens are pretty smart.
Yeah,
there was
a
some
Caledonian crow.
guy I thought that was that the raven would like go down to street levels and pick up like cash, like like let's say
I believe
someone's
it.
like begging cash or like coins or whatever. My dad's metal detecting show that he watches. Apparently, there was something where this.
Oh, hold on.
What's that?
We have to deconstruct that sentence.
What's that?
My dad's metal detecting
Show.
show. So my dad used to metal detect too.
Yeah.
And not only did I think it was the most boring activity on the planet, no offense to those who like it,
Yeah.
but a show on it, you're watching
Yeah,
other people metal detect.
The detectorist. It's
Do you-
it's like a BBC show.
I wonder if
about
they get
detectorists.
like a rush without having to do the work because they're like, oh my God.
Look, actually, my dad says the opposite. He says that there's people online that he sees like do detector stuff, and they would like quote unquote find a ring or find whatever,
And it was fake.
but it's really they planted, to
Ugh.
be like, look how great I am of finding these things.
Lame.
But my dad's more like the historical stuff. Like when he goes to Denmark, he likes metal detecting because it's like more historical things versus like finding the
Ooh.
$10,000 ring or something like
This
that.
nail is
Yeah.
400 years
It's true.
old.
One of his finds is in the Danish National Museum.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was like
Dude,
a
he's serious about
1100
detecting
1100
alloys and
AD
such.
coin that he found.
Dang, that's cool. Does it have his name by it? Donated by.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure.
That's cool.
But stuff like that. But I was saying detectorist. I was saying metal detecting.
Sorry, yeah, I really derailed you there.
No, it was fine. It's all good. It's okay. We're not supposed to be talking about this anymore.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, that was some good banter, but let's get to our episode. Our topic.
Oh no, I'm thinking about animals now. Which one is it today? Or which one?
So
Which one we
it's
can do first?
this one's a rough one to talk about,
Oh, this one. Okay.
but it's actually a really good topic. What we learned getting our butts kicked.
The slice of humble pie.
Yes, and by the way, I wanted to define in per usual fashion what we're talking about when we mean getting butt kicked.
I think I have a definition too. But
Ooh.
we'll see if we're similar.
So I actually categorized it in three ways.
What levels of
The first one
wrecked?
is you're just outclassed. They're just like radically better at technique, and
Okay.
they're smoother, better. Just
Sure.
Honestly, like it's honestly the best way to get your butt kicked.
Okay.
Because then you like see another level of the magic, and
Sure.
it's more and it's cool, and usually it means that you didn't get too roughed up, but they're just like really technical.
Mhm.
That one's my like probably the best one to get beat by.
Okay.
The second one I called because the first one's called getting outclassed. The second one is getting handled, and they're just radically more physical than you and athletic than you.
Okay.
But your technique, actually, you might have like the same knowledge,
Sure.
but their ability to just apply it with force is much better than yours.
So classed, handled.
And then the last one would be, and it's kind of I didn't really have a cool name for this one, but it's more of like the willingness of the pace in that role because when you go to train, sometimes you might not be there to bring it, and you're just like, you're working on some stuff, and
yeah, you get surprised or whatever.
It's just a normal day, and you maybe, so let's say effort level's like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
And they go 10 out of 10 on you, and you're just like, oh man. And then jiu-jitsu or grappling games don't really work great with counterpunching.
Yeah.
Especially if they're more skilled than you. You're just, if like the minute they start their game, you're just essentially going in a downhill spiral the whole time. And and that one kind of is a bummer, because it means that maybe there was not some communication, or maybe you're just being lazy that day, or you're bringing it that day. So it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody's always on the same page, but that was kind of how I was thinking about getting my butt kicked.
That's interesting.
What did you have?
Well, something similar. I mean, so to me, think about getting wrecked. It's like expected and unexpected. So let's say I go against this big, strong dude. There's in the back of my mind going, I could get wrecked by this person. So there's like a level of expectation to it. I think once I've gotten down this grappling path enough, you can kind of give a quick little percentage meter in your head of like, what's the odds of you doing kind of well? And you're eyeing people up and seeing them roll a bit. You're like, I think I'd do okay. So I think it's the expectation to go like, oh yeah, I kind of figured this would happen, or like I figured I was to get manhandled a little bit or whatever. To me, I think the worst rolls are when you eye someone up and you think you can beat them, but you don't. Like it's completely outclassed. Like that's to me is the worst ones.
You think so? Oh, I thought like, so you'd rather be handled than outclassed?
That's a good word. Outhandle is probably a better one. No, because in the back of my head, like being strength-wise is something different. Like being wrecked around, to me, I think my ego could say, well, they were just throwing me around because they were big and strong. Like they were a couple weight classes up or just super strong. Like to me, it's not a measurement of like.
And we're not getting any younger.
Jiu-jitsu against your jiu-jitsu against my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like when I had that smaller female here I was visiting, I had two actually. Well, I had the one brown belt and the one purple belt.
Yeah, that purple belt was legit.
It was me pulling back because I wanted an actual measurement of our spells versus
she outspelled me for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the idea what I
Which
want.
Is good.
But I think the last person that the role I've had for a while that got like wrecked, or I got wrecked, like completely outclassed, was Joey, for sure. Because Joey, the hard part was Joey was smaller than me, like not too much smaller, but
I'll say he's about our weight, pretty close,
no, he's
right?
smaller. He's
really?
like 155.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way, because he's like, isn't he our height? I'm a terrible shooter height and weight. Well, I could be like I think 6 inches taller than somebody.
I think he's a little shorter
we're
than
like the
us.
same height, right?
Nothing too much, but I think he's a little shorter than us. But he's like probably, I'm sorry, Joe, if you mispronounce or saying what your stats are.
Watch, we're going to do a podcast with him, and he's going to be taller than us and way more than us.
Yeah. Maybe it's just his
prettier than
humbleness
us too.
makes it seem that he's not that imposing. But no, because definitely when I work with some people or some more experienced people, at least I can kind of dance with them a bit. But Joey was it was very scary and very empowering at the same point. It was like I couldn't even do any real damage to him the whole point. So it was, but the cool part was he was doing this all to me without feeling like it was because of his strength and size. Yeah. That was the scary part. He was wielding full on 9th level wizard spells on me, and it was amazing. And that's actually the more stuff that keeps me up at night, because I know it's like wielding magic. It's not like, oh, well, of course you outweigh me by 60 pounds. I could tell you hit the weight room twice a day kind of thing. Like I can see that's why. But when we're measuring our skill sets right now, like I get it. That's part of it. So I'm definitely not the ego to say, well, I go against this big guy. But I don't stay up at night thinking like, oh, there could have been a way. It's a very clear solution with that. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, Levi, well, if you want to pair up with these bigger guys who are also very skilled in grappling, you're just going to have to hit their weight room. So to me, my ego can go, okay, well, if you're not making that choice, then expect to get wrecked in that way. The harder part is smaller people wrecking me with jiu-jitsu. It's like, nope, there are solutions and there are things that they're wielding. Like forbidden magic that I don't know about. That's the stuff that keeps me up.
That's
like,
the tricky part.
How did he control my from top half guard so well? Like he wedged me in so tight
Yeah, I felt the same thing when I rolled with him.
It was insane.
His top half was like I was in a cage.
So I'm sure some of that comes with time and adjustments that he feels perfectly, but just something like I wish you could just infuse that to me. But then now I'll just spend a month with him and then it would be there. Like
download it.
Danaher said that many times. He's like, in the gym or in the training room, I can't tell the difference between a guy who benches 300 pounds or 400 pounds. Like he says, there's not like as much of a huge effect.
And plus like 300 pounds.
Well, but that's saying in that upper echelons of strength, it's like you get to a certain point. There's a guy that Juggernaut Training Systems.
Oh, Chad Wilson
Yeah,
Smith.
that he said, if you hit this kind of minimum strength level for weightlifting, that's all the strength you need in jiu-jitsu. Like if you can...
And just hold it.
If you can, squat twice your weight or whatever. Like he's given like kind of these like rough...
Yeah. Which is a pretty decent squat for
he's
a
just saying like, if you're looking
athlete.
to get more out of your jiu-jitsu, if you can hit these certain standards, don't think to spend more time doing that. Like go back to your jiu-jitsu room and do that. Like don't sit there and go, well, I'm going to have more time to do weightlifting. Like feeling things like Joey's half guard, if you can learn and appreciate some of these technical wedging and things, like this is not the result of huge steroid use or whatever. Like this is like, wow, like he knows his game very well, very technical. Like that's the stuff I want to get measured with. So I always say, going back to the get wreck thing, I thought I was in managing doing something than I was at that point. The last time I rolled him, and I was just like, that's just so dang cool at that point.
So I figured we could take this episode and kind of divide it into a couple sections.
Mm-hmm.
That we already did the first one. Actually, we did two of them. One, animal druid power. Two, but just like kind of talking about like what we mean by getting our butts kicked.
Yes.
And also a note too, is just this. It happens to everybody, right? Like if you're new to grappling and you're listening to this podcast, just heads up. It happens a lot. It's part of the game. And the goal is just, as long as you didn't get hurt, it was a good thing.
I would say if it's not happening to you on a semi-regular basis, you're in the wrong room or you're setting your training standards differently.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're in a room where you're like, cool, I'm smashing everybody and I feel good about myself, then if you're looking for your actual grappling development, like that's not the path.
It's like the whole, you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the best at
jiu-jitsu
jiu-jitsu in the room either.
Like that's what you don't want. But I know guys like Mikey Musumeci that he said he would take lower skilled belt ranks and tell him to do very specific things against him. And he would have very specific responses. Like he'd create like an artificial lab. So it doesn't mean that you have to have very technical people in the room, but you could...
Roger Gracie said something similar.
Yeah, like you can artificially create environments to inflate your skill sets in certain areas. So if you feel like, oh, I can't leave my gym, this is a brand new gym and there's no place around for 40 minutes or whatever, like you can still set training standards for yourself and exercises to enhance your grappling skill sets at that point.
So got a couple tips here, or not tips, because I don't want to give tips on this, but I want to share what I learned.
He's so experienced getting wrecked.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, tips are not the right word. Because actually, that's something to touch on real quick too. Is like when I share information on this podcast, these are just my own experiences. Like, and some of the stuff might work for you, some it might not. Some it might be completely wrong, and I'll redact it in a year. But okay, so the first one I touched on a little bit already about, hey, if you didn't get injured, it was probably a good experience because you can pick up some things from what your role was like. Like what's the first thing you did wrong, right? And then you can start to break that down.
You're saying physically injured.
Yes. You can get mentally injured, you'll be fine.
That's
but
mental damage.
But here was actually a huge takeaway for me because I've actually had my neck ripped on 2 times now. When one time dropping into another school and another time when someone dropped in here recently, is don't let anybody grab your head. That was like a huge takeaway, and I forget it because our training partners are so cool in here about not ripping necks, but I have literally had the same part of my back between my shoulder blades pop twice. And it's just like, dude, like one time was from like a can opener thing where he was in my guard and grabbed my head and just yanked it up, probably like 40 pounds on me, big guy. And it was just a little bit like, I'll admit I got a little frustrated at it too because I was like, dude, really?
Well, I think it was like you said, that was the frustration of that third option you said.
Yeah.
Surprise. I think if
you're just
you had like 5 minutes beforehand where I'm like, this is the intensity.
Yes. If someone said, defend yourself, he's going to try to hurt your neck. You know, like that would be to me a very different thing.
Yeah.
You know, but honestly, the whole thing, I forget it sometimes and I get lax with it. And it's like one of the most important rules that I totally need to stop sleeping on, and I'm going to get better at this.
So I think that's a good point.
Don't let anyone grab your head.
Let's say getting manhandled. There are some people that live by that kind of Thunderdome lifestyle. Mad Max reference for anybody.
Yep.
That most people aren't used to having it both ways on a frequent basis.
Yeah.
Like if they're used to someone manhandling them and they manhandle other people and they're like, hey, this is the way of life of grappling.
Schools that have a strong survivor bias would be a way to think about it too.
And at that point too, it's one of those things where it's like, I believe this is how jiu-jitsu should be or how I want to train grappling, or that's just their default standard. Like, this is what I thought grappling was. And
which they're not wrong. Like, I want to be clear about that too.
So there's a balance.
I'm not saying like no neck cranks and stuff are not grappling, because they most definitely are, and they are very effective. I
would say at the higher levels,
that's actually true. You don't see that very much.
Going high intensity, maybe in like wrestling in scrambles, but like in the pressure mechanisms, like it's more subtle than like over the top.
That's true. I've never seen anybody get tapped by the two moves that I've had my neck cranked with ripped on hard.
So here's a good example. Like
I've never seen it at the top levels though. Nobody at like who's number one or anything does that move.
Like people having their feet crossed from back control.
Oh,
and people go, oh, if you do that, I'm gonna bring my leg over and straight foot lock it. And it's like, I'll be clear. Guys like Gordon Ryan will say right away, like, you try that on me and it's not gonna work, and I'm gonna laugh at you and I'm gonna choke you.
Yeah, you can break both his ankles and he's gonna keep going.
It's not this intensity where it's like, ooh, ow, like he always defined having strong breaks as catastrophic pressure. Like doing that is an owie type move, but it's nothing that's going to make some of the most durable people on the planet gonna stop.
That's a good word to touch on right there for a second. Durable, because like
durable, yeah.
At the highest levels, those guys are durable. If anything else,
it's the same thing as being like a professional MMA fighter. These are people who can endure getting hit and smashed and kicked all the time, versus the average person training mixed martial arts or let's say jiu-jitsu.
You
get hit and you're like you're like annoyed and this isn't fun anymore. So it just depends. Like some of those people like say this is the way of jiu-jitsu and they go intense. I just would love to challenge that philosophy if those people really do experience that on a frequent basis. And I think that's something I wouldn't mind, like especially more experienced people, to put on them. Like I think that's the whole purpose behind the gym enforcer, is to like give them that kind of sense of intensity back towards them, to be like, hey, this isn't fun. Versus some people like you can't reach with just words, to be like, hey, be nice.
Say, Luke, we need you.
Well, that was the thought process, Luke's a good one too. But yeah, there's definitely a mix of that jiu-jitsu skill set and the intensity as well. Like it's, but manhandled's a weird one. They're like kind of glass tanks. They go really hard, but at the same point, the moment someone does it to them, most people's ego shatters at that point. Like, ooh, now my arm hurts and now my neck hurts. Like they over amplify their destruction because now somebody did it to them. So it's like, I like doing that kind of stuff a little bit, but I don't like it as far as new members and new people, because that's a conversation. This is like a longevity thing.
Yeah.
This is not like someone from a different gym with different culture and different vibes.
Yeah. Lewis and I were talking about, it'd be a good idea when anybody drops in here, because like there's a couple times now people have gotten a little dicey with some of the members here, right?
Yeah.
Just from people dropping in and just having different expectations of how people roll. Mm-hmm. If you have your like the Rob Bernanke Matt safety talk, you give it to everybody who comes in your school, and that actually could probably prevent a lot of injuries on people dropping in. You go, yeah, you're welcome to drop in on the open mat day per month, but you have to take our safety briefing. Here's what we do. Here's what we don't do. If you're going to do something like this, you got to talk to your partner. Like, I wonder how much that could prevent that type of behavior.
I like that. What if I'm already having this outline created of creating videos like that I wonder if someone signs up that they can email back with like our video briefing, and basically saying that like, if you come in for the open mat, that you're agreeing that you watch this. And
you could even tell people too, like most people here have other jobs. Mm-hmm. Like we really, really like jiu-jitsu, but we also do other things.
Well, this is why I say of supportive roles. That was my wordage. because supportive roles means that you're sitting there trying to, I mean, collaborative is kind of fine, but supportive is just, you're putting the energy on them. Like you're making sure that you're supporting your partner and what they want.
And you can still have killer hard roles
with
that type of mentality.
It's just difficult because when things scale, especially with intensity, it's hard for some people to go like, ooh, you're going too hard on me. Like if that were to ever happen to you, like the next time, would you feel like you'd want to communicate something?
Yeah, if I knew how that person was going to act, be like, hey, by the way.
Not if you knew. Like to say if you got surprised, and let's say after the second submission.
Oh, I obviously haven't.
Well, so, I'm saying like in your thought process, like when you're talking about communicating, would you...
if there was like a Matt briefing kind of thing, you're saying?
Or sorry, like let's say you said the third option of someone going hard and fast on you, or just anybody in general. Do you think, or what's your thought process on like people communicating this intensity that they're feeling?
I think people need to be legit when someone asks them, like, how are you rolling today?
Yeah.
Because like people will go like, there's this really annoying thing where they go,
right there.
oh, I'm just moving and stuff, and it's like, okay, freaking liar. Like, just be legit. Just be like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how are you feeling today? Are you going 5 death roll? Are you going 3? Are you going 4? Because I'm going 3 today. I'll be honest with you. I want high technique and get a good sweat, but I'm not here to hurt myself. You know?
If we make those thought processes clear beforehand, I mean that's why I always like the bands, because the people know here that for injuries and such.
Yeah, I think those are great.
But at least communicating, there's always a default say, hey, my shoulder's a little buggy, so if you can just avoid that, that'd be great. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like you said of watching me roll some people, and suddenly people aren't going as hard or as intense. You know,
scary, Levi.
Baba Yaga.
But
I don't know. But
here,
go for it.
We've only gotten to 2 tips so far,
Yeah,
and we're about 30 minutes on.
That's your thought, and this is what's actually happening.
But no, anyways, I just wanted to give you that.
No, I think, but communication is such a big thing, Matt. This is why I'm not a huge believer in the Matt Enforcer. Doesn't sound like it anymore, because it sounds like he's getting wrecked.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been a Matt Enforcer.
I need a different Matt Enforcer.
I am certainly not one.
But it's not. I liked Robert Necky's.
I'm really friendly. I'm like the new guy.
Matt. Robert Necky was saying how he is a Matt humiliator. No, demoralizer. Because like take a smaller, not intimidating person. Because it's the same thing. Like you said, if you get a big, strong guy, like, oh, I'm the Matt Enforcer. They can tell they're getting manhandled. So there's no actual like ego checked. You're just getting squished, and they go, that wasn't fun. Like the Matt Demoralizer is someone going, oh, I had size and strength on this person, and I still couldn't do anything. That's where it's like people are feeling that power of jiu-jitsu, where it's like it kind of like settles you down a little bit to not go strong and fast, like to say you should be developing your skill sets. But that's the conversation. To me, it's just saying that, like you said in the beginning, you should be able to have this communication with them. Actually, think almost the opposite, even though I think sometimes ego can get in the way. I feel like if you have that, I think there would have to be some way you'd have to like cut off the roll to be like, hey, do you mind if we go a little slower? Like I don't know. Like what else do you do? Do you have a conversation after with them? No, because you're probably upset. You know, like when you say like people will lie, that's the tough part. Like to go, how does that look like afterwards? That's usually where I come in as far as a studio owner, to be like, most people have a tough time going to that person to be like, hey, you know, I was going a little bit lighter. I'm not sure why you went so hard, but the next time we roll, can we go a little bit less intense? Like it's a, you know, and people feel weird, but it's like, no, you shouldn't be feeling weird. Like why?
No, you got to protect yourself.
But that's where it comes into culture.
I think though one of the things though, sometimes people don't bring that stuff up because they do want to challenge themselves.
Yeah.
So I think there's like that weird balance there where if someone's really like putting the screws to you, on one hand, it's like frustrating and you're trying and stuff, but it also does give you a glimpse into like, man, I need to be better at jiu-jitsu. I need to get in better shape. I need to it gives you a lot to think about and work on. So it's like kind of like a weird balance where sometimes when you get your butt kicked, like I said, if you don't actually sustain an injury.
I think it was that the first one?
Or
no?
Yeah.
You're just talking about
it was the first one.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. Getting manhandled or getting outclassed.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Outclassed is fun.
Outclassed sounds better because you're just getting outmaneuvered and whatever.
You'll walk away fine.
Yeah. So I think as long as you're being outclassed, that's an element of our sport, because if you're in the right room, you'll get outclassed many times. You will
Yeah.
outclass other people many times. And then a good majority in the middle, you will be back and forth with people. Like that's just the nature of any place you're trying to actually develop yourself. Like Matt just said earlier, like if you're the smartest person in the room, like you're not going to be challenging yourself and developing yourself. But if someone's injuring you, that's like you were saying before we got on air of like throwing your body weight around, like kind of just like launching onto people, or like takedowns being really dramatic or whatever. To me, then once again, is most of the time either someone's coming in brand new and has this philosophy, or they've trained someplace else and that's how they operate. You know, and it's like, do you operate that way, or is it just the fact that no one's willing to say that you should slow down a little bit?
But here's a neat way to think about being outclassed too. You know who's really good at outclassing people here? Jordan. When you're wrestling with Jordan, I've never gotten hurt. Yeah. He's like very classy in that regard, and he takes people down with a variety of takedowns. He's very cognizant of, like, he's, obviously a black belt in takedowns. So, that when you get beat by that, you're just like, shoot. Yeah. But versus like when you get taken down and you get thrown across the room and you land on something, that's a different conversation.
No, and I think that's that classiness though, because I think there's some people who go intense. So for example, like your example you're talking about, there's some people that go so intense because they don't even want the opportunity or chance to get put in a bad position, because in their mind, they're thinking, oh, like this person is thinking that they're dominating me right now. And I don't want you to think that you are actually beating me right now.
Which is kind of funny because it ultimately doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. But that's that weird ego. Like, I can't be down on this. But it's like you said, the outclassingness and the authenticity sometimes too. But it's just like, okay, so it's only once it gets tripped to the point where you're going so hard that you're willing to hurt your partner to be back up on top. You know what I'm saying? Like, to go that far. I made this joke so many times, or comment, like I had this guy tap me out at a competition with a cross collar choke, and by all means, he was very skilled and did the work and got the submission. What I thought was just fascinating was he was mounted on me with a cross collar. His mouth was right by my ear and just everything up in my business. And I'm here and going, and he's making these sounds, trying to kill me.
Like a pug.
Right, like a pug. And I was just like, dude, like can you still choke me and do the exact same work as you did before, but just chill with the normal face? Like, dude, like it just sounded, it would have been so much cooler had you just been calm and just did the same work, versus sound like it's almost like, please, my mother and my children have been kidnapped. Yeah. Like, please tap right now, otherwise something's gonna happen to them. Like, it was so desperate. It was so like over the top.
Funny. He's showing his cards in that moment too.
That's what. But this is what we talk about when in grappling, having this normal face that Jocko talks about, having this visage of not looking like you're giving effort and to not look like you're annoyed by anything. It's the same as having a poker face in poker. Like, you're showing that you're not overly excited. You're not perturbed by what you have, because otherwise, if they can see that, that's blood in the water. That's like, if you're sitting here struggling of a choke, like Craig Jones would say, he'd purposely gurgle on people when he knew he was in a good, safe position because they'd burned their arms out. And then when their arms are all burned out, he'd escape, and now you have less tools against them.
In running, we used to do something kind of similar where you would, like, if you're like running a 5K or something, just try and not look tired, even though you're like exhausted because you're running. Because if you pass someone and you're like really well kept, it's kind of like demoralizing, where they're just like, dang, like that guy just.
Jordan was saying the same thing with wrestling. He's like, he's so trained to not show it.
Yeah. And I don't think he very rarely ever shows that he's tired.
Well, I think he actually gets tired with the wrestling aspect for sure. Like, I don't think he gets that kind of tired, but I mean, you don't see it when he competes. Like, he's just on it. But I think that's such an important part of rolling with it. But I guess back.
So here, let's talk about a time you got your butt kicked. We just talked about the girl.
Joey for sure. Yeah. Roy Dean was another good example.
So what'd you learn in those butt kickings?
I didn't learn anything.
I learned that I got my butt kicked.
Yeah, it wasn't like I knew a couple combos he did, and he tapped me a couple times with, and I go, okay, this is interesting. Roy did.
Which one? Okay, Roy Dean.
Because he'd hit that triangle armbar sequence a lot of me from mount.
Okay.
And It was good.
Was he super smooth to
yeah,
roll
I mean,
with?
he was smooth.
So would you say you were outclassed in those scenarios?
Yeah, I think it was one of those cardio moves where I think he was getting tired just by beating me. So
Homer Simpson.
This was, yeah, they just go in, they just tap him. So he was definitely getting tired, and if I had another 10 minutes and another 10 more taps, I think I could have started beating him. It would have worked.
If I hit him with a
But
bat,
I could tell he was tired.
Yeah.
Like at the 8th
Here's
tap,
our plan, guys. We're going to let him tap us 20 times.
I was
and then
Captain
we're gonna get
America,
him.
and I just like kept going.
Yeah.
I wasn't tired because why would I be tired? Tired is like doing stuff to a person.
So you're just laying there getting
Yeah,
tapped.
I'm trying to do stuff, but it's like I wasn't overly exhausted.
I guess that was in the gi too.
Yeah,
So
it
it was a
wasn't
little trickier.
It wasn't too bad, but
I feel like subs are so much harder to find in no gi.
oh yeah, I mean it's a lot different, but no, that was the other time I got. I mean he sent some submissions too, so I would say that was manhandled, but it was.
Because there's a point too where you just have to ramp up your speed and stuff, though. You know,
he kind of gave an authenticity to it a little bit. Like he sent a couple Kimuras on me. Even Luke was like, "Ugh." She's sitting over there, like watching. But it's because like I kind of was like, I'm expecting the lightness,
yeah.
like him to go.
But he went
like, turned it, popped it, and I was like, tap. I was like, whatever. But it was almost like if you were competing right now or going against intensity, like they would not have gone light on you like that. And I don't know, like he didn't really explain it. I didn't ask him to explain it. I just nodded my head and kept moving forward, kind of thing.
Well, and plus, did you get hurt? On the
I don't know how to explain that. Like it was sore for a couple of days, but I didn't feel like anything got
okay. You weren't like damaged
at anything point. So there was an authenticity to it, but it wasn't like a.
Well, at some point it has to not be patty cakes to some degree too. I think that's also like, you can be outclassed and they like put a little pepper into it, like because there's some moves you're just not going to get unless you put in.
I think the peppering is like when we talk about controlling a joint for 2 or 3 seconds and knowing that they know what's on, and then you just pepper the hell out of it. Like at some point where you're just like, I'm just gonna send this right now. It's like not like an explosion, but it's like going 1 to 10 at a very good pace at that point. Like I had that at the knee bar not that long ago, and it was like, get it? Oh, you know what a knee bar is? You're still not tapping. Okay, like I'm in the process of applying this knee bar.
Yeah. It was like a 2-second hold, maybe. Like it was like you snatched it, and then over the course of 1 second, you ramped it up.
Well, and to me, it's very similar. When you talk about like self-defense, like you're trying to build a story that you're giving this person opportunities and chances to, either de-escalate or leave or get out of this. Like you can't surprise something like to your point of this agreed upon thing we're about to do, and now suddenly you do something way different that increases the chances that if you weren't prepared for it. Like, oh, now your neck's getting hurt or your arm's getting hurt. Like, I didn't agree to this level of intensity, and maybe this is my first roll or this is my second roll or whatever, that I don't feel like I'm up for it. There's such a higher grade chance of now you getting hurt because you're not at that point yet to go. So, got to give people those opportunities to say, this is why we call it submitting.
So wait, hold on. What was your takeaway? What did you win, or what did you learn from that?
No, but that was like a technical thing. To me, it was like I learned that obviously there's bigger fish in the sea. Like Jill purposely told him after we had dinner with him to say, I think Levi wants to get wrecked. So I think he's not going to tell you that, but I think you should lay it on him. Because I think I wanted a good measurement.
It'd be funny if you were in the opposite the opposite boat, and you're like, Jill, I hope he kind of takes it easy on me. My arm is kind of bugging me.
Yeah, I kind of I want to wreck him a little bit.
She's like, send it.
But it was very humbling at that point. I mean, it was good to feel some of those skill sets like that. But people like that, with anybody, I think if I had more frequent roles with them, it's more of going into the strategy book and working through. I like this idea though, like back to our subject of, getting owned on the mats. If this is someone that was visiting or you dropped in and they wrecked you, just really try to measure either A, like Matt said, outclass. Guess what? That's our world. You're going to find people like Gordon Ryan that's going to completely outclass you because of their skill sets and training. And getting manhandled, it's like there's some big people, and either hit the weight room, get bigger or stronger, or understand there's weight classes for a difference. And then that third one with saying this agreed upon intensity, If you really feel this person might be prone to doing this, do like Matt said, have a light-hearted conversation beforehand, and if you feel like it's going to go intense, maybe just say, yeah, I'm just going a little bit lighter today, or like there has to be some sort of conversation.
Probably just dodge the roll, honestly.
You could.
Don't
that's
roll
always a good thing. Like if you feel someone's going to be intense, you can just say, I'm taking a break, or no, thank you.
Yeah, I
That's
think
always
that
a tough
the
one,
older
I
you
think.
get, Robert Nack even talks about that. He says he'll totally dodge rolls with people.
Mhm.
If they're like, I think that guy's going to hurt me. And he just doesn't roll with them.
Well, there's
My body, I got to take care of it.
There's bigger targets when people are actually bigger, and sometimes there's bigger targets when it's like more experienced people. Like when you see the brown belts or black belts, and literally if they have the gi on, you'll see that, and you're like, that's always the target.
Yeah,
but sometimes that's
expectation.
Like they want to like tap the Dark Souls boss, basically, which I don't blame them. Like you should be challenging yourself at that point too, but not to the point where you're actually hurting somebody. I think Gordon Ryan does that pretty well with most of his matches. That he'll heel hook or grab something, but he wants to show control. It's almost like
he doesn't really
gladiatorial type thing.
He doesn't really like. I'm trying to think if he like pops stuff. It seems like not often.
I think he pops it only when it's like they're really not.
Yeah, they're like, dude, come on.
Yeah,
you're done
conceding right now.
All right, here's one other thing. Here's a big one I learned recently getting my butt kicked.
What's that?
So you and I talked about it a little bit, but I need to build a solid A game. For the listeners, I'm a blue belt. I need a solid A game that I can rely on. I feel like I've done a good topic du jour over the last couple of years and just learning a lot of cool things from a lot of different positions. But now I need like the lifeboat in the ocean where if the waves get rough, I can get into my little lifeboat.
Waves get rough.
But no, honestly, like that's something that we've been talking about, and how do you like design your training to be able to develop that type of idea? Just because this actually falls into another thought, that kind of epiphany that I had, where I kind of had a bit of a false belief around that spamming moves is cheap. And I think it's actually really important to develop depth in your game. And I think that false belief on my part came from like the video game world, where if you spam the same move over and over again in like a fighting game, it's kind of cheap and it's kind of like disingenuous. It's kind of like, dude, what are you doing? And because video games sometimes are built in a way by accident that there is an overpowered dumb move that someone can just spam. And the timing of everything, there is a cheapness to it. And I always didn't want to be cheap when I was playing games with my friends. So I took that bad framework into jiu-jitsu, and if I got like a pass on somebody, I would not use that pass a long time on them, and I would try to use a different pass. And that's probably good sometimes in your training.
Yeah.
But what I really need to do now is just say like a knee cut. Say you're getting a knee cut on everybody, and you just knee cut. It's on them to figure out a way to stop you from knee cutting them all the time.
Yeah.
Because there are ways to do it. It's not like an unbeatable move. There's no unbeatable move, right? So that was a huge learning piece for me. Because, you can only get so many practices and so many movements in a week. Mm-hmm. So you should probably hone your abilities so you have something to rely on when you are getting your butt kicked. That, say you get tapped and then you reset, you're like, okay, say taking the knee cut analogy again, you're like, okay, I have a really solid knee cut. I can at least probably get to side control. And then like, that's the goal, know?
So to me, with moves like that, I always get the example of the arm triangles. Like I've gotten it to a pretty decent level now.
So it's rubbed off on a lot of people here.
But once I catch it, there's a confidence to know like I can get it if it's deep enough. But it's like one of those things where every once in a while you pull it out against somebody newer just to, dust it off a bit. But then if you're like, I haven't really used it too much, like you should dust it off. But otherwise you should be like, have I hit everyone in the room with it? It's like, if you have, then it's like, well, either work different setups or start developing new things, but then every once in a while, dust the thing off. But it should be like Old Faithful, where you go get someone you've never rolled with before.
Yeah.
If you go get someone you've never rolled before and you feel like you're a similar skill level or might be issues, that's the reason why you have your A game. It's like, this is my main weapon I'm going to be utilizing on them, and to measure it, to say like how skilled that is. And if it works, then you just go to your plan B game next, and you do something else that you're developing on. So.
We might have to do a part 2 on this. I had a couple more, but we're ready at 45 minutes.
That's good. That's good for another time.
I think what it all comes down to, or I should say a way that we can kind of consolidate these thoughts, is if you get beat, like that's on you and that's okay. And it's your responsibility to try to become better so it doesn't happen again. And I think that that's kind of a healthy mentality to have, knowing that there's going to be a day in your life where like there's going to be people you can't beat, and that's okay. And that's just, unless you're Gordon Ryan, that's the way the world works.
Right.
And the weird thing too is sometimes you'll have some of those weird triangles that you can beat this person and they can't beat you, but their friend who they can beat beat you. You know, you get into these weird spots. So the point is you're always going to get beat unless your name's Gordon Ryan, and that's okay. Yes. And it's part of the process. It's actually probably one of the reasons why we like jiu-jitsu, because tell me how fun it would be if you just showed up and were amazing at it and you could beat everybody and you never lost.
I think to Matt's point is that outclass is part of our sport, but getting hurt should not be a part of our sport.
Yes.
Obviously, there's weird tweaks and things that will happen. But if you can tell it's very purposeful straining and stretching that, you know, they're going beyond what's necessary, I think that comes down to communication at that point. Even if you don't feel like communicating with them, if anything, communicate with your instructor or coach or something and voice your difficulty. Like, they kind of just did this to me and I'm not sure how to manage it. Then I can always step in, your coach to step in to communicate with them. So,
boom.
Nice.
So where can people find us, Levi?
The Grappling Podcast.
Where else can they find us?
Grapple Pod on Xbox.
Yes, we also have the Xbox. I was actually thinking, or we should plug our Facebook and our Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Facebook and Instagram, you can find us, follow us. We'll definitely be more active with it soon to posting content. There's a chance we might be getting a really big interview soon.
Yeah.
So this will be exciting for us.
Like, huge.
We've had some great guests on here, but this person's a pretty prominent jiu-jitsu figure in the community. So.
Yeah, and there's someone who's not like our buddy, you know?
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool.
This will be good. So it'll be fun. But cool. Awesome, guys. We will catch you later.